Welcome, everyone. We are here in this incredible spring evening with our good friend Pepe Raventós at the offices of Skurnik. Really, really happy to have Pepe here today. He's el rey del norte de Penedès, the king of the north, as we like to call him. But is the man and the talent behind what is now Raventós y Blanc, which is an incredible sparkling wine estate in Conca del Riu Anoia in the northern Penedès, alongside Sumoi, which is his mountaintop, minimally intervened winemaking facility in kind of the western area of the mountain,
area, yes.
southwestern mountains of the area, alongside the incomparable project of Mas del Serral, and the incredibly finite but remarkably elegant expressions of still wines that you produce from your Raventós y Blanc winery as well. So we're here, we're happy. Welcome, Pepe. How are you?
Thank you very much, Lobo. This is the most generous intro I've ever had.
Oh, yeah? Good. Good. I mean, you deserve it.
Not sure about that.
Yeah, well, I am. First, I wanted to ask you questions really about Conca del Riu Anoia. So for our listeners, I think it's important to understand that Pepe and his family have been making wine in the Penedès region, the Penedès Valley of northeastern Spain, since the late 1400s. At least that's the documents that you showed me when we visited the estate. And kind of famously, I think it was your great-great-great-grandfather who went to Champagne and did detailed kind of exploration of not only method champenois, but also Chardonnay and the soil type, and then brought that concept both scientifically and logistically to Penedès, inventing cava.
Exactly. Very briefly to touch on the history. Yes, we are an extremely traditional family linked to the valley of the river Anoia, to the northern Penedès for more than 21 generations. Yes, in 1870, Raventós Fajó made the first Spanish champagne after several trips to the north of France. And the greatest of his vision is that he used the grape Xarel-lo to make this most beautiful, mineral, delicate, honest sparkling wines with the most serious method at the time. No? His son created the Xarel-lo Parellada Macabeu trilogy, that's Raventós Domènech in 1890s. And then the region had a boom because every time there was a world war, Champagne was blocked by the entrance of the Germans. Mm-hmm. And you've seen in the movies always, no? That is like all this area is like where the soldiers are passing a hard time. And so when the Americans wanted to celebrate, they would call my grandfather and say, "Can I have a pallet of your beautiful sparkling wine?" And like he created a brand, my great-great-great-grandfather Raventós Domènech created a brand called Codorniu in 1928. I'm not sure if it's 26 or 20, I would say 28.
Called what, sorry?
Codorniu.
Okay.
And every time, the Americans wanted to celebrate, they called him, and he made a huge growth. Then the world stabilized. Hopefully it will happen again. Now it seems that we're in a little bit of a crazy loco dias. And to finish the story, my grandfather founded the cava appellation when Champagne people said, if it's not made in Champagne, you cannot call it champagne. We used to call it champagne with an X at that time. Sadly, my grandfather passed away in 1986. Freixenet took the lead, produced a shit ton of disastrous sparkling wine, destroyed the reputation of the territory. But then I moved to America and I learned, Pepe, don't hate the players, change the game. And we decided to declassify from cava. That was a kind of like a disruptive move because we're the family linked to the cava, etc. And start the Conca del Riu Anoia dream. So to answer your question, sorry, it's been a bit of a long answer. I will try to be more precise in the next ones. But Conca del Riu Anoia symbolizes the dream of making high-end, mineral-driven sparkling wines at the same level of champagne, just in another region, with another climate, with another terroir, with another tradition. Not better, not worse, just different.
Yes. And I think it's obvious in the wines. So just to recap, it's quite fascinating that your family quite literally invented cava, and then through a disastrous line of events, which might be more politicized or whatever that we want to talk about, you now have dissociated into Conca del Riu Anoia, which is so important because what I do all day long is tell people it is not cava. Yes, it is champagne method, pardon me, indigenous grape varieties to Penedès, which a lot of people are utilizing. But you have made the move to your own appellation. And I think what I'm more curious to hear about is what sets you apart from the other kind of famous or infamous winemakers who have also left the cava appellation and joined groups like Corpinat and Classic Penedès. What separates Conca del Riu Anoia from those two groups?
I think we have more things that unite us than separate us, which is the strong belief of our terroir. But if I must say, like, why, after we declassified and created the Conca del Riu Anoia labels and dream appellation, there was Classic Penedès. We did not join Classic Penedès because of the idea. The idea of Classic Penedès is more linked to Cremant de Bourgogne, Cremant d'Alsace. It's like a Cremant, a sparkling wine of a still wine appellation. And then when in 18... Salud. There was a Corpinat created. Give me 1 second to taste the wine. We didn't accept the invitation in 2018 because our vision since 2012 is different than a club of brands. Is really that create a collective brand, which is great, with great winemaking skills and requisites and great people. But I think the region deserves an appellation, an official appellation, and this is really what we work for. This is the idea of Conca del Riu Anoia, and this is what I bring to work every week. We need the official government, excuse me. We need the producers and we need the farmers. These are the three pillars of this new appellation. And I don't know when, but I think this is going to happen. This is going to happen.
So you will welcome other producers into
It's not
the
that
appellation?
we don't have to welcome anybody.
Okay.
We are not anybody to welcome. It's just that I keep talking to farmers, I keep talking to producers, and more importantly, I keep convincing the Catalan government that we need to put the efforts together to create an association, an association to make an appellation, like Barolo,
Sure.
where the villages, the valleys first, the villages second, and the crews are the protagonists. And then, of course, the producers we have to do the homework, no?
Of course.
Burgundy inspired, if you will.
Of course.
The villages and the vineyards. Conca del Riu Anoia is one of the valleys with 7 villages and amazing vineyards. But there are many other valleys. And we need to put all this effort together and create the Burgundy of sparkling wine.
Yes. Which I think you do quite a good job with, mainly because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but many years of research working with the University of Barcelona or another school to detail your soil compositions, primarily in Conca del Riu Anoia, right? That are maritime fossilized limestone, which is remarkably unique compared to the soil patterns that most Spanish sparkling wine grapes are grown through. And the wines that you produce from these areas are some of the most mineral-rich, remarkably elegant expressions of sparkling wine produced on the planet. So it's exciting to see everything come to fruition, as I imagine it's exciting for yourself as well.
This is, I think, the most important message I would like to share with you today, my dear friend Matt. There are 3 things to understand the huge potential of the territory, of the valley of the River Anoia, and the subsequent valleys in northern Penedès. First is the climate.
Sure.
We are in the climate of viticulture. A vine is like an olive tree, like an almond tree. It belongs naturally to our area. It's so easy to farm in an organic, respectful, detailed way. Plenty of old vineyards still survive, farmed by old gentlemen, old farmers, yielding 3 tons an hectare. Like, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
Second, the soils. We studied with the University of Barcelona to better understand our landscape. We have done a lot of work with friends from the south of France, Bordeaux, Rhône, Olivier Treguat, etc., to understand the edaphology. So this maritime influence is pretty unique, like in Jerez. We were covered by the ocean for 3 million years, the same time that Jerez was covered. Sí. So these fossilized limestone, these diatomeas, make a distinctiveness. I say always, you like fruity, go for champagne. But if you like mineral, try Conca del Riu Anoia. So really, when we talk in winemaking a lot about minerality, about salinity, about these notes, give the opportunity to a De La Finca 2020, and you feel the ocean right there. No? But last, definitely not least, are Xarel-lo and Sumoi. I dream on a Penedès where the valleys and the villages and the crews are the protagonists. I dream on a Penedès of Xarel-lo and Sumoi, period. We need to simplify the equation. That's when the territory and the soil gets the protagonist. It's the Burgundy vision for Penedès. And Xarel-lo and Sumoi, for people to understand this, they fully ripen. Let's say we want to make a still wine of Xarel-lo, would fully ripen at 13.5 max, but the pH would be 3.1. And if I harvest at 11 to make a sparkling wine, the pH would be 2.9. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is like very northern balance, very northern equilibrium, but in the Mediterranean climate. That's unique. And the Sumoi is even lower pH.
Really?
And both are super reductive, meaning that they travel through the years and through the geography in the most sustainable, the most stable way. That's the word I was. They are super stable grapes. That's why Raventós Fajó in 1870 starts to make this with Xarel-lo.
So this is, for lack of a better, or for a shorter description, is #Burgundy balance.
Exactly. So exactly, you're harvesting at 13 with a pH of 3.0, but you're like 500 kilometers south in the Mediterranean shore. Yeah. And this is a combination of these soils, of this climate, of the winds. And this is why, like already in the Roman times, 2,000 years ago, the wines from Tarraco, Tarragona, the capital, started in the Pont de Molins de Rei. Sorry, in the Pont de Molins de Rei, the Pont de Martorell. So now it's Barcelona province. But 2,000 years ago, the Romans, much smarter than we are, they already put Tarraco where we are now, in the valley of the River Anoia and Old Penedès. No? And those wines were super, super reputed. No? Meaning, like, there's the history, there's the climatology, there's the tradition, and there are these grapes, and we just need to believe in that. Simplify the equation.
So I want to expand more on the fact, because you said Xarel-lo and Sumoi, right? I think really only the geekiest wine professionals truly understand Xarel-lo and its capacity to not only produce some of the world's most incredible sparkling wines, but also, especially in your hands, some of the most thrilling still wines. But talk to us not only about Sumoi, the grape varietal, but also let's transition the conversation into Can Sumoi, which is, interestingly, this completely alienated, beautiful mountaintop estate that you found while you were riding your bike. Is that true?
I like to say Can Sumoi found us.
Aha.
It was an abandoned, beautiful estate, up in the mountains of Montmell. That's the southwestern part of Penedès. That's the poor Penedès, or poorest, because all Penedès is too poor. And that's why I'm so happy that we get some attention. It's a place where basically, like, you grow vines or the forest will eat the territory. We found, or this estate found us with 20 hectares of old Montònega planted. Montònega is the parellada of the mountains, is the shittiest of the 3 cava grapes. High yielded, very rustic, doesn't need much attention. and has a little bit later bud break. That's why people plant it in the mountains. And when the producers in the Pana have finished it, harvesting the Macabeus first and the Xarel-los, then say, okay, now let's bring me the Parellada and we're going to do the blend. From an enologic perspective, I don't find it very exciting, but for me, an old vineyard is history and is patrimony, is culture.
Sure.
We wanted to save those hectares, and that's why we came up with the can Sumoi Ancestral Montònega, make a very delicate Ancestral, which basically is like a pet nut with extended contact on the lees and disgorged, so it will make sure that it's clean and beautiful. No, 10% alcohol is an average of Montònega. Some year could arrive to 10.5, but not more. It's a very delicate grape. However, Can Sumoi in Catalan means the home of Sumoi.
Yes.
Like Can Lobo is the home of Lobo,
Sí.
or Can Escurnic is the home of Skurnik. So I felt we are responsible and obliged to try to bring this amazing grape back where it deserves. And because of the bad understood cava success, people took it away because it's very complicated to farm. It has sensitivity, very sensitive to botrytis. In a warm vineyard, it pacifies. It has high tannins. So anyhow, you have to be really working it in the vineyards.
Sure.
But when it's a good vintage and it's well interpreted, it's like a beautiful Nebbiolo with acidity. And I think there is a huge potential, thanks to farmers like Joan Batalla, Joan Ferrarons, in the triangle of the Resistance, Rodonyà, Montferri, Mas Llorenç. There are 100-plus-year-old bush vines, organic cultivated. We get wood from there, and we replant the terraces in Can Sumoi. We do microvinifications from these old vineyards, and also we do a younger approach, blended with Garnacha from these younger plantations. No, so we are in the learning process of bringing Sumoi back to life.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've had the pleasure of being at Can Sumoi with you, and I think it's just worth noting that it truly is an alienated mountaintop winery surrounded by forest, that Pepe and his team are working extremely hard to not only maintain the biodiversity of the forest through their work, but also build kind of this new story of Sumoi. And you don't have to worry about a farmer who's 2 rows next to you spraying with things that you don't agree with or doing other practices that you think are ridiculous. You just have red deer and wild boar.
Yeah, but thank you, because just a quick thing. The farmers are the ones in need for love more than anybody.
Okay, of course. Okay.
And Can Sumoi, above all, is a project to connect with the farmers in the area, learn from them, pay them a fair amount, the highest possible per kilo of Sumoi, or Xarel-lo or Macabeu. We're going to talk about this when we launch Montanya.
See?
And really, for me, it's like this is what gives me strength to come to New York and support and do the most difficult part of our business that we all know is not winemaking, that is the very easy part compared to distribution. Another thing I wanted to share is that Alfred Ferris, the master of animal traction in Spain, gentleman from Valencia that has been working in La Rioja mainly lately, but always has been like our consultant with all our passion in Raventós y Blanc Estate for animal traction, is moving to live in Can Sumoi farm in the old Masia with his 3 mares, his wife, and he wants to be closer to Valencia where his family is. And so he's bringing the life back, like we are trying to make, but in a like very solid way. So the animals and the family are coming back to the farm, and the state is gaining more life, more energy, I guess, more humanity.
That's incredible. I mean, in our glass right now is one of my favorite wines that you make from the state. I know you talked about Montònega. And I think from the market perspective, it's just important to understand that like this is, albeit a wine made from a grape that you said has massive yield and is quite rustic and challenging, to produce this amount of finesse and kind of true indulgence in a 10% dry sparkling wine is a massive accomplishment. Alongside, of course, the Sumoi and Garnacha wines and the still Xarel-lo and La Rosa 2024. The new rosé, the 2024, is just stunning. So we're very, very excited about what's to come with Sumoi. Do you have any little secrets or plans for the future?
I'm very happy that you are also behind La Rosa 24. La Rosa for me has always been like the very first wine for Sumoi. Is a blend of Xarel-lo and Sumoi, and so it symbolizes what we have to do. It's for me an opportunity for people that like rosé to drink serious rosé. I will die trying to make a world-class rosé from Xarel-lo and Sumoi.
Yeah, the wines are great. I'd like to kind of move maybe back a little bit more north, and we can bounce off the animal traction concept here, back to the estate of Raventós Blanc. And tell us a little bit about the history of Mas del Serral, which on paper is, alongside some of the top sparkling wines from maybe our friends at Recorredo, the best sparkling wine produced in Spain, some of the best sparkling wines produced in Europe. So tell us about the project, tell us about the animal traction, which we exposed in Sumoi, and then we can talk more about the 2014 vintage, which we'll be releasing shortly in our market.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think Mas del Serral is a message in a bottle, no? Is a message in a bottle in the sense to under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah.
Is where Xarel-lo can arrive if you believe in it. And this is the essence of Mas del Serral, is really pay attention to that grape. In this case, in that plot, that single vineyard, northeast, original topsoil, has not been modified for like hundreds of years. And of course, if you have to treat a custé, a slope vineyard, in maximum respect, there's no better way to do it with man and animal, no? So no machine since 2005, 1.9 hectares facing the north, again on topsoil, super like structured soils, maximum biodiversity, tempered by the forest and the lake, 10 years on the lease. And
10 years on the lease.
This idea of, mineral expression, salty expression, Conca del Riu Anoia expression, and aging capability. That's Mas del Serral, no? But I say also message in a bottle, and like also I think capitalizes all the know-how of the family. Maybe most important than anyone, my grandfather, who made the wines at the Codorniu cellar for 40 years, obsessed with quality and everything to do to express the territory. Of course, they were doing a lot of liters, but they also put a lot of attention into detail, no? And the way that the Raventós Blanc grape entrance is designed by gravity, the way we press the full cluster, the back to the bourbage, also by gravity, the concrete fermentation with spontaneous, is like all this attention to detail that I think is something it's in the DNA of the family, if you will, and that's why it's a message in a bottle.
The wines have always kind of blown my mind. With your first vintage in 2007, correct?
To be released, yes.
Yes, and now we're at 2014.
It's coming in 2014 with also pushing that message in a bottle to the next level.
Yes.
With a blend of Xarel-lo and Sumoi from the Clos Petit. Clos Petit is the most intimate part of Clos del Serral, where we harvest about 800 kilos, where we recrafted some old vineyards of Bastar Negra with Sumoi from the Triangle of the Resistance. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, since we worked with Texturas de Pedra in 2011, I think Sumoi takes Xarel-lo to an extra layer of aging capability, reduction, under promise and over deliver. So for the people that love their like serious sparkling with aging capability, mineral expression, I encourage you to pay attention to Clos Petit 2014 that is going to be really soon. Yeah.
And Clos Petit is a rosé.
Yeah, it's a blend of Xarel-lo and Sumoi. So, of course, it's 2/3 of Xarel-lo, 1/3 of Sumoi, but Sumoi is a red screen grape.
Yeah, of course.
So when you put it on the glass, it's a rosé.
How exciting. And this is the first time our market will see Clos Petit.
Any market.
Any market. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
It's very, very exciting. And then I do want, and I think maybe this is a great time to kind of swap our glasses here and taste the second wine. One of the things that excites me the most about what you're doing is your eponymous brand, right? Which is Pepe Raventós, which are very small production still wines made from Xarel-lo and Bastar Negra, and what is in our glass right now is Malvasia de Sitges, which is really an indigenous kind of mutation of Malvasia, really pretty much
Sitges area
in Sitges,
Enric Bartra.
in the Graf, right? And you produce these remarkable wines from these young vines. That I think are so undeniably world class. So tell me and tell us a little bit more about how this project began, and then maybe about the lineup, and then about this wine in particular. I know, man, it's great.
This is a wine that humbles me, no? Because first of all, Vins Pepe Raventós is an innovation project, is a project of mistakes, is a project that is born in 2014 when we moved back to live in the farm. And in the garage at home, I say no cars. It's a perfect place to play because it's cold, because it's very clean, because it's new and it's virgin. So it's the yeasts of the skins of the grape are going to be the agents of fermentation. There's not going to be contamination of any other yeast. No?
Yes.
And then we start to play without sulfur. That's my passion at that moment, very strong. I travel to Pupillén, make very good friendship with Manu and Anne, and of course learn a lot and take a lot of notes from Pierre Auvernois. And the Xarel-lo blows us away. No? The 2014 Xarel-lo of Vinya del Noguer, it's that but a vine just on top of the home. Really, we fell in love. No?
So just to subtract, you brought 2014 still Xarel-lo to Pierre Auvernois.
No, I traveled to Jura. I spent a lot of time, maybe like 6 trips, it's a 6-hour drive from us, with Pierre, to learn about how can you make natural wine that tastes fucking good. Yeah. And we say, okay, we're going to try. And Xarel-lo has such a reductive characteristic that I thought it would give us the chance to do it in Penedès. And with time, you have seen that in Penedès, it's not just us. There are many other producers that are making amazing and natural Xarel-lo. No? That's how it started. Then it's also, because it's very small volumes, like you say, it makes me, it allows me to risk. So, for example, we tried a red called Bastar Negra, query style. And the last wine is this Malvasia. And this wine humbles me because I dream on a Penedès of Xarel-lo and Sumoi. And I say, if I have to make an exception, it would be for the Malvasia de Sitges. Because this is only 6-year-old vines, this vintage. And man, it's like so reduced and so elegant and so oily and so mineral driven and so delicious. I planted it to acidify naturally the Blanc de Blancs.
Yeah, sure.
But we dedicated some wines to the family of Vins Pepe to play around with it, and it's really, really surprising us, no? So, this is the why, no?
I'm constantly obsessed with this wine. I'm so happy that I'm able to taste and drink this with you today because, not to belabor the point, but what do you think most thoughtful farmers, most thoughtful winemakers, what are they doing with their vineyards that are 5 years old, 6 years old? Are they even bottling them? You mean,
I'm not sure I understand the question. You mean with Malvasia?
No, in general.
In general.
When we think about the scope, when we think about a thoughtful, let's paint a picture, okay? Mm-hmm. There's a thoughtful, talented, young, biodynamically driven farmer. Mm-hmm. Let's just say he's in Côte Catalan, just to draw a line. He planted a brand new vineyard of Samso in 2019. Mm-hmm. I have never experienced a wine of this much tension and concentration and class from a 6-year-old vineyard. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what are you doing here that is helping here, or what aren't you doing here?
We have been lucky, first of all, to have Enric Bartra, who is the man behind the salvation of this grape variety in l'Hospital de Sitges, that he's been cultivating amazing clones, doing a fantastic clone selection of Malvasia de Sitges, and Enric gave us the right wood to replant.
Sure.
And then we've been fortunate to plant it in the right soil, in the right place. It's true that beans Pepe Raventós, everything is very respectfully farmed, because it's not only organic and biodynamic certified, but it's 100% animal traction project. There is no tractor arriving, so I think the work of the soil is critical to give difficult grapes like Malvasia or Sumoi the best fruit possible. Malvasia is really complicated, that's why people took it out. It pushes a lot for the wood, it has a lot of sensibility to oidium. It's very variable, not only vintage after vintage, but plant to plant, super low yielded. So farmers that get paid very little money, they don't work with this. No? So anyhow, different ingredients have happened to be together. We also have been lucky to put it in concrete. It's so reductive. Concrete goes very well for the Malvasia. And then most important, have people that know their wino and they appreciate what's in the glass.
Yeah, it's a mind-numbing experience, I think. And I guess the point I was trying to make is that this, by no means, I think, even in a blind tasting setting, would somebody think that this is sourced from a vineyard planted 6 years ago. It's really tantalizing. What are you excited for most about the future of your projects?
Well, I think the answer is simplification.
Mm-hmm.
I am excited for understanding better Penedès, for spending more time with the farmers, for being able to succeed in our race to the top, to show the world that Xarel-lo and Sumoi, with the exception of the Malvasia de Sitges, can deliver amazing quality wines in our land. And really, I think this idea of giving the protagonism back to the valleys, to the villages, to the vineyards, to the farmers, and bringing back to them what they deserve, that's really the motto of every day. Yeah,
that's great. The selfless king himself, Pepe Raventós. We'll do one more little cheers. Pepe, thank you for your time. We know you're a busy man, but it's always a pleasure to pick your brain and share wine with you. And I personally can't wait to see how your passion and talent continues to influence not only the wines that you produce and the projects that you run, but also the people that work with you and around you. I think you mold people into being the best versions of themselves, and I think that's something you should be really proud of. Because obviously you're molding grapes into the best version that they can possibly be as well. So thank you very much. We're very, very lucky and very happy to be a part of your life and a part of your life's work. And let's go have a beer.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.